Why do some women become mistresses, even when they know he has a wife? Few topics generate as much judgment as the subject of mistresses. The moment people hear that a woman knowingly entered a relationship with a married man, many immediately reach a conclusion. They assume she is selfish, manipulative, immoral, or deliberately trying to destroy another woman's marriage. But human behavior is rarely that simple. If psychology teaches us anything, it is that people often make choices that seem irrational from the outside, but make perfect emotional sense from the inside. This does not mean those choices are right. It does not mean innocent people do not get hurt. It simply means that if we want to understand why some women become mistresses, we must look deeper than stereotypes. The truth is that most women do not wake up one morning and decide they want to become the other woman. Most of these stories begin much more quietly. Often they begin with attention. A married man notices her. He listens. He remembers details. He asks questions. He makes her feel interesting, attractive, valued, and understood. For someone who has been feeling lonely, invisible, rejected, or emotionally neglected, this attention can feel incredibly powerful. Many women do not initially fall in love with the man himself. They fall in love with the way he makes them feel. Feeling desired is powerful. Feeling chosen is powerful. Feeling understood is powerful. And sometimes those feelings become stronger than logic. At the beginning, many women tell themselves that it will remain harmless. Maybe they are just friends. Maybe they are only talking. Maybe nothing serious will happen. But emotional attachment rarely asks for permission. It grows slowly. A message becomes a conversation. A conversation becomes a habit. A habit becomes emotional dependence. And before long, the situation becomes far more complicated than anyone intended. One of the strongest psychological forces involved is validation. Many people carry invisible emotional wounds. Perhaps they grew up feeling ignored. Perhaps they experienced rejection in previous relationships. Perhaps they struggle with self-worth. When someone desirable chooses them, those old wounds temporarily disappear. The attention becomes proof. Proof that they are attractive. Proof that they are lovable. Proof that they matter. The relationship stops being about the man. It becomes about what his attention represents. This is where things become dangerous. Because when a relationship becomes your source of self-worth, walking away feels like losing a part of yourself. Another major factor is fantasy. Human beings are incredibly skilled at creating stories that protect hope. Many mistresses tell themselves similar things. He doesn't love his wife. They are only together because of the children. They sleep in separate bedrooms. The marriage is already over. He'll leave eventually. I'm different. Sometimes these stories are true, but often they are not. Yet hope is one of the most powerful psychological drugs in existence. Hope allows people to tolerate situations that would otherwise be unbearable. Hope convinces people to wait, and wait, and wait. Months become years. Years become a significant part of someone's life. The problem is that hope often focuses on potential rather than reality. People fall in love with what could happen instead of what is actually happening. And reality matters far more than promises. Many married men sincerely claim they intend to leave. Some genuinely believe it themselves. But intentions and actions are not the same thing. Actions reveal priorities. Promises reveal desires. The difference between the two can change a person's entire life. One of the hardest truths many mistresses eventually face is that some married men never plan to leave. Not because they hate their wives, not because they hate their mistresses, but because they benefit from both relationships. At home, they have stability, security, familiarity, shared history. Outside the marriage, they have excitement, validation, passion, novelty. They enjoy both worlds. Giving up either one requires sacrifice. and human beings often avoid sacrifice when they can. Many women spend years waiting for a decision that has already been made. The decision is visible in the man's behavior. If years pass and nothing changes, the answer is already there. It simply isn't being spoken out loud. Another uncomfortable psychological factor is competition. Some people unconsciously experience attraction through the idea of being chosen over someone else. Winning becomes part of the appeal. Being selected by a married man can create a feeling of superiority, a feeling of being more attractive, more desirable, more special, more important. The relationship becomes tied to personal validation. The problem is that validation gained through comparison is fragile. Sooner or later, reality replaces fantasy. And reality is usually less flattering than imagination. There is also the issue of emotional unavailability. Ironically, many people who repeatedly fall for unavailable partners are unconsciously seeking relationships that cannot fully develop. A healthy relationship requires vulnerability, commitment, consistency, responsibility. For some people, those things feel frightening. An unavailable partner creates distance, and distance creates safety. The relationship can feel intense without requiring complete emotional exposure. This is one reason why secret relationships often feel incredibly passionate. The obstacles themselves increase desire. Psychologists have long observed that scarcity increases value. The less available something is, the more valuable it often appears. A relationship that exists in secrecy can feel more exciting precisely because it is restricted. Every meeting feels important. Every text message feels significant. Every moment together feels rare. The unpredictability creates emotional highs. In some ways, the brain responds similarly to gambling. You never know when the reward will arrive, and uncertainty makes rewards feel even stronger. The result is emotional addiction. The person begins craving not just the relationship, but the emotional rush associated with it. This is why leaving can feel so difficult, even when the relationship causes pain, even when it creates anxiety, even when it offers little real security. Because addiction is not based on happiness. It is based on emotional dependence. Eventually, however, reality begins to catch up. The same question appears again and again. If he is willing to lie to his wife, why wouldn't he lie to me? That question often marks a turning point. Trust becomes fragile. Doubt begins to grow. The fantasy starts to crack. Many women realize they have spent years investing in a future that remains permanently out of reach. Some leave, some stay, some continue hoping, but the illusion becomes harder to maintain. The harsh truth is that becoming a mistress is rarely about happiness. More often, it is about loneliness, validation, unresolved emotional wounds, fear of abandonment, fantasy, hope, and the universal human desire to feel chosen. Understanding these factors does not excuse the behavior. People still get hurt. Families still suffer. Trust is still broken. But understanding helps explain why intelligent, caring, and otherwise rational people sometimes make choices that appear self-destructive. At its deepest level, this issue is not really about married men, and it is not really about wives. It is about self-worth. Because the most important question is not, why does he stay married? The most important question is, why am I willing to accept a relationship where I am always second? That question changes everything. Because healthy love does not require secrecy. Healthy love does not require endless waiting. Healthy love does not force someone to compete for a place in another person's life. And the moment someone truly believes they deserve more than fragments of another person's attention, the entire dynamic begins to lose its power. That is usually when the relationship ends. Not because the married man suddenly changes, but because the woman finally realizes that being chosen occasionally is not the same as being loved completely.